Hello, you wonderful crusher struggler. Happy Wednesday before Thanksgiving, if that's when you're listening right now. It is Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the busiest travel day in the United States of America for the year. And as you're listening to this, I'm in one of the busiest cities in America. I'm in New York City. New York! Let's go. Oh, I'm psyched. Bringing the kids up to New York to see the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And we're staying with a couple of our friends who are there who are both in Broadway shows. How cool is this? Talk about a power couple. They are both in plays on Broadway, so we are crashing at their place and going to go see some theater, see the balloons for the Macy's Parade, and maybe do a little bouldering out in Central Park. Keep an eye on the Instagram to see if I am able to get the weather window as well as the time, the permission from a family to go pull on some boulders. There's a boulder there called Rat Rock. It's like in southern Central Park, kind of right near the entrance there at Columbus Circle, which I think I'll be able to talk my family into, or maybe just like kind of we'll be strolling through Central Park and I'll be like, oh, look at that. That looks like a boulder. And oh, look at this. I happen to bring my Scarpas. And then all of a sudden I'm climbing some problems on Rat Rock. I'm psyched. Hopefully I can pull that off. How about a couple fun facts about Thanksgiving before we dive into this November Plog? For those of you who are new to the Plog, I don't think Plog is a word, but I started saying Plog as in like podcast log a while ago. And now I'm just stuck with it until I rebrand. So welcome to the Plog, where I just kind of talk about my training, my nutrition, tactics, mental game, my goals, my successes and my failures for the month. And maybe in doing so, you all will learn or just, I don't know, get some entertainment value out of this. If you're driving or flying on this, the busiest travel day in the U.S., maybe I'm keeping you company on that. I'll have already driven to New York by the time you get this. We're going a little bit earlier in order to see our friends and avoid some of the worst of the traffic. And if you're not in the U.S., if you're one of my awesome struggle supporters internationally, of which there are many, I'm like shocked every time I hear from you. I'm like, holy cow, this is so cool. I've got a couch to crash on in so many places. Then this will just give you a little window into American Thanksgiving. And then I'll dive into the Plog. Okay, so I pulled up a couple fun little facts here. Well, this Wednesday, we already talked about busiest travel day, but also the busiest day for pizza orders in the United States. And I would not have guessed that. I would have guessed it would have been the Super Bowl, another very American tradition here. But it's the number one night for ordering pizza. And I saw Nate Drolet, frequent guest and friend of the show, Nate Drolet, put out, he always does these like, what does he call them? Affordable atrocities on his Instagram, and he posted a picture of a DiGiorno pizza that's called the Thanksgiving pizza, and it's basically Thanksgiving on a pizza, and he had like the funniest takes on it. If you're not following Nate, I highly recommend it. He's a great coach and also very funny with what he's posting. Okay, so that's the Wednesday, that's today, but what about Thanksgiving? How about some facts on Thanksgiving? Well, the first Thanksgiving was in 1621 and lasted 3 days, and this surprised me. It wasn't turkey that was the centerpiece, it was venison, which is deer meat. So for you meat eaters out there, I've been a vegetarian for almost 20 years now, but for you meat eaters out there, maybe shake it up a little bit and eat some deer. I don't know. I love deer. Don't eat deer. Don't eat turkey. Well, no, I don't want to be like sanctimonious about my vegetarianism. I hate it when people do that. Although, I'll tell you what, if you are vegetarian, or if you're having vegetarian friends come over, Thanksgiving's a great holiday for that because it's always about the sides anyway, but there is a vegetarian, or maybe it's vegan, I think it's vegetarian, non-meat option called Quorn, by a company called Quorn, Quorn. They make a turkey that you bake for like 45 minutes. I am telling you, it is bonkers. It's probably just turkey. That'll be the scandal that comes out, is that it's just turkey and they just put like fake vegetarian ingredients on the box. So anyway, if you want to try a vegetarian option, check out the Quorn. Quorn? I don't know how to say it. What else is a fact? Oh, the next facts are about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which is why I'm in New York. And I'm so excited. I've watched it every year since I was a kid. It's such a tradition. In fact, most people watch it. What is the stat here? I've got a stat. 50 million, not most people, but a lot of people watch it. 50 million people watch the parade from home. It is the most watched parade on Earth. I don't know if that's saying much. How many people are watching parades? There's the Rose Bowl parade. There's the Rose Parade. Anyway, the Macy's Parade is pretty iconic. It has been around since before sliced bread. Literally. The parade started in 1924, which is before Disneyland, before penicillin, and before sliced bread. Let's go. And originally when they had the balloons, they didn't have release valves on the balloons. So at the end of the parade, they would just let the balloons go and like fly up into the world. And then they would offer rewards for the return of the balloons. So it was like a balloon hunting competition. It was like Running Man, but for Macy's balloons. I kind of feel like they should go back to that. How fun would that be to like find a balloon, like a giant SpongeBob SquarePants, and then get $1,000 for it? Maybe it's dangerous. I guess like those giant balloons could come down on a highway or something, but I like the idea of that. I don't know. Somebody solve this. That could be cool. Any other facts, Ryan? Any other facts? No. That'll be it. Let's move on to the Plog. And a happy almost Thanksgiving to all of you out there who are celebrating. Okay, I am opening up my trusty 5-year training and performance journal. I crossed the year mark on that just recently, and I've heard from a lot of you who have as well. I guess I started selling this a little over a year ago, and as you know, is a reflective journal. So you write something every single day about your training or your performance or just your thoughts, your mindset. It's focused on climbing. You can keep a different journal for other things, but this one's specifically for your climbing. And then at the end of the first year, you start over underneath that year, and then you go through, and then by year 3, by year 4, you at a glance, you see what you were doing on that specific day the years prior. And it's so cool. I'm hearing from some of you. In fact, one of you, Steve, I think Steve was your name, posted on Instagram you crossing your first year, and it was amazing. You like had just climbed your first 514. It was so cool to see. Anyway, I'll put a link in here, by the way. If you want to pick up one of these, they're $40. I make $16 per one of these that I sell. Try to be transparent over here at The Struggle. So they sell for $40 on Amazon. They'll ship anywhere in the world in a couple of days, and I make $16. So if you want to help me out with $16, it's really not about the money. It's just about like, I hope you get some joy out of this training journal, and it'll last you for 5 years, and I really love it. Okay, November goals. I just had 3 goals in November. 5 days of climbing outside, send the route wild gift, and do 2 sessions on Bulldog. So I guess I'll just go down these real quickly, and then we'll dive into the details as I tend to do. So 5 days outside, check. In fact, you guys, I got 6. I got 6 days outside in November, which was, I guess I achieved that because in November every year, I do like a little bros staycation climb trip where we rent a cabin at the Red and climb. And so I did 4 days on out of 6 days. It was insane. I was absolutely wrecked from it. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit here. But I got 4 days there, and then I got one that I posted about when I was out on Bulldog, and I got another day out on Wild Gift, which is the next one. Okay, so I got 6 days outside, so that one's check. Send Wild Gift. Yes, let's go. I sent it. That's a 12C. I'll talk about that in my learnings. And then the last one was complete 2 sessions on Bulldog. Can you hear my dog barking in the background? I'm sorry if you can. He must see one of the Amazon delivery people that just continually stream to my house. Are you a person that has a family and somehow Amazon packages just keep showing up? I hate it. I love it. I hate it. I don't know. I'm conflicted. Let's not talk about Amazon. Let's talk about 2 sessions on Bulldog. That was the goal, and I can't check that one off because I completed 1 session on Bulldog. Well, first of all, I went to Bulldog 3 times. 2 of the times it was too wet to climb, and then 1 of the times it was dry and gorgeous and perfect, and I had an amazing session on it, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So I can only half check that because I got 1 session. I tried more sessions, but couldn't do it. Now, the month isn't over. I will get back on the 29th, so I have an opportunity to climb potentially on the 30th. I don't think it's going to happen. I think I'll only get the 1 session. But anyway, I'm happy with these goals. I achieved a lot in this month. Like November was a banger month for me. November has now had a reputation of being a very strong month for me. It's when the weather at the Red is consistently cooler, and for the most part drier, although we got some rain days, but it's definitely like the temps are there. My fitness has built up from all the training and then getting out on rock consistently in September and October. And I've kind of got that Red River, I don't know, the mental game, the fitness, the movement, it's all kind of topping up and leveling off in a good way in November. December tends to be good too, but then the holidays come in and makes it a little bit harder to have consistency. In any case, I'm very happy with November. So let's dissect what happened. So first of all, oh my God, was that November that I sent Bare Metal Teen? Bare Metal Teen was, I think I posted about it, I guess. Or maybe I talked about it in a different episode. Bare Metal Teen was like a little bit of a epic mega proj for me last year. It is given the historical grade of 12A. It's a Porter Gerard route, kind of a classic Red River Gorge, super long, very steep, but also like a very definitive couple bolts of crux. And anyway, it took me a lot of sessions, and I put it down this year with some helpful beta from my friend Kyle, friend of the show, Kyle Fisher, and also just, I think, being way stronger than I was last year. I'm definitely not fitter. Like, I don't have as much endurance fitness as I did last year when I sent the Force. I was crazy fit, the most fit I've ever been in my life, but I'm stronger this year, a lot stronger from my kilter board training and weightlifting, and I just, every move on Bare Metal Team felt easier. That said, I gave it a personal grade of 12B, and I think it's a very deserved personal grade of 12B. I haven't heard from anybody so far that has a legitimate argument to make that that route is not 12B. But it doesn't really matter the grade. It's an incredible route, and I look forward to climbing it again. So I forgot I sent that one in this month. So you know what that means, you guys, is like in the last 5 weeks, is it? 5 weeks, I sent 12A, B, C, and D. That is cool. That's never happened. I'm really psyched on that. That's a cool realization to have. Oh, man. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, I guess it's just kind of cool, like from a poker playing standpoint. I got is that a flush? It's a straight, right? I got a straight. I got a 12 straight because I also sent Wild Gift, which is the 12C, and I sent Maisie May, which was the 12D. I gave it 12D. Some people give it 13A. In any case, 12A, B, C, and D, and I'm psyched on that. Okay, what else happened? So I did work a few other routes, and I guess noteworthy would be, excuse me, I ate a peanut, and the peanut is stuck in my throat. I'm going to have a sip of tea. I'll spare you my Aidan Roberts impressions this time around. No, I won't. Oh, Arrival of the Birds, just a wonderful project out in Switzerland. Put some time on it. Excited to check out Sisu, the Sisu project. Okay. I love Aidan. That's enough Aidan ASMR. What was I talking about, you guys? I've got vacation brain already. Oh, Wild Gift. So Wild Gift is another route that I worked on just a little bit last year. It's a very punchy, fairly short, kind of like this straight power endurance. There isn't a significantly good rest on it. I found a decent rest this year, but last year when I got on it, I did a couple sessions on it last year. I was like, oh my God, every move is a crux move from the bottom to the top. And I think the best I did was a 2-hang. Maybe I got a 1-hang on it. And then this year I went out to it, and the first day back on it, I almost sent it like second go or third go. I was out there with Eric Hurst and a couple other friends, and I would have, and very much could have, sent it in that session, but I made the fatal mistake of not rehearsing the top out beta. Like I did it once in that session. I was like, oh yeah, you get through the crux and then you just kind of climb these somewhat, medium hard moves to the chains. And then I got through the crux and was absolutely flamed and hadn't rehearsed the top out, not top out, but like the chain run beta well enough. So I botched the sequence and just kind of like exploded off of it in a heartbreaking unsend of the route. Now, the silver lining was that then I got to come back and climb it again because it is a fantastic route. And so anyway, there's a learning in there. And that's something that Eric has talked a lot about on our show, like kind of the art of the second ascent. And he really spends like an outsized amount of his time when he's working on a second ascent or just a red point project in general, rehearsing that chain run beta. Because once you get through the hardest parts, as he says, you do not want to blow it on what could be some pumpy, not gimme climbing. to the chains, you want to have that so dialed that you can just kind of like go through the motions without thinking about it. And ultimately, that's what I did on the Force by low pointing it, but I never low pointed Wild Gift. I thought, okay, if I can get through this really hard crux, I'll be there. I didn't. Good learning lesson. But then when we went back the next day, I was able to send it. But I'll say this, you guys, super interesting, the experience on that second day. It felt way harder that second day. And in my mind, it shouldn't have. Like in my mind, I should have like walked up there and been like, I'm strong, I'm fit, I almost sent this. And I got on it and it just like the holds felt slippery. The conditions were good, like on paper, on the app that said low humidity conditions. Maybe it was like too low humidity, but the holds felt slippery. And I just like couldn't get the flow. And so I kept falling at the low crux, which is at bolt 3. Whereas like the true crux, I think, is like at bolt 4, between 4 and 5. Anyway, I kept falling there. And so I changed my mentality on my send go, and I turned to my belay partner, my buddy Matt, and I was like, okay, my goal for this route, my send, if you will, is to get to bolt 3 and clip bolt 3. And so I took the top part out of it mentally, and I was just like, okay, just dump the tank, give it freaking everything as if bolt 3 is the chains, because I just like was struggling so hard to get there. And so I did that. And I got to bolt 3, and it was like almost max effort to get there. It just felt very, very hard. But then I got there and I clipped, and there's like a decent rest there, or one that I've kind of learned to make decent. And then I recovered enough to fire through the next crux, and I had rehearsed the top on that day. And so I kept it together and I sent, and it was a very proud send, you guys. Really, really excited about it. It was only my second 12C. I sent my first 12C like 5 years ago. Was it 5 years ago? 4.5 years ago. 12C is very hard, and this route is really good, and I'm very, very proud of it. It was a really good fight and learning experience, and also it, for me, very much proved the concept, the theory, if you will, that if I could get stronger and more powerful as a climber with my kilter training, it'll translate onto routes, and that was definitely the case. Every move felt so much easier this year compared to last year. And as a result, I didn't have to expend as much energy, which means I didn't have to recover as much because I wasn't as tired. And so the strength and the power really benefited the endurance system. Tom Randall just talked about that recently. In fact, in our recent coach chat, the Q&A that we had, where that's the kind of training he's been doing for his big project, Stranger Than Fiction in Moab, is that he trained a lot of endurance last year and didn't quite get it done. And so this year, he trained up strength and power way more to try to make every move feel easier so that it's just not as taxing on the climb. So anyway, I experienced that on Wild Gift, but also that was apparent on Bare Metal Teen. And then I got on another like long pumpy route, a 12B over at Torrent Falls called Big Money Grip that I still need to get back to. And it's a hard route, but it felt like very doable. So very, very happy about the kilter training paying off. And speaking of kilter training, I sent a few more V7s on that board. As you all know, I've got the kilter full ride, or the home wall it's called. It's a different board than most kilters that you would find at the gyms, like with the bigger holds and the more dynamic moves. This is a more densely packed hold set. I only have half the holds up right now. If you've seen my videos, it still looks dense as shit, but those holds are about to double because I'm going to put the other set up soon. Anyway, they're smaller, thinner, crimpier, pinchier, and it's more like outside. There are some dynamic moves, but there's a lot of tension required. And anyway, training on that has very much translated to my outdoor sport climbing. But how has it translated to my outdoor bouldering? Because that's the goal, right? Is to climb my first V8, also my first V7 and first V6 and first V5. You guys, I think the hardest true boulder that I've ever climbed outside was a V4. Now I did do Maisie May, which is kind of that V6/7 on a rope, but that's a sport climb. I had a rope on. So I'm trying to cover a lot of ground here with this bouldering goal. And I got on Bulldog for my first session. I put a video up on Instagram if you haven't seen it. I also shared it on Patreon. And I'm really happy with how that first session went. Eric met me out there. We laid out the Asana pads. It was the first time it was dry enough to like actually pull on. And I did pull some beta videos from YouTube. There's not many videos up on YouTube In fact, a lot of people don't know about this boulder. It is right off the main road, like just like 10 minutes from Miguel's, and it's a 30-second drive. It's like that pyramid-shaped boulder that you'll pass if you're a Red River Gorge climber. It'll be on your right, kind of right near Glencairn Road. Anyway, on the back side of it, it's this like stunning, maybe 35-degree overhung block. And it's compression-y, but also there's some pockets and some crimps on there. And it's like got a full value top out that's probably 10 or 12 feet up there, and it's a slab. And so my big hope was that I would be inspired by this boulder when I got to it, because I had just been looking at it for all this time and talking about it. This was the first session of pulling on, and I'm happy to say that I loved this boulder. I'm very inspired by it. I pulled onto the Bulldog right variation. I don't know if it has a separate name or not. I should get to the bottom of that. But anyway, it's a V6 variation where it goes up the right arête, and then the V8 starts on the lower left and traverses into the right problem and then goes to the top. And so what a great progression for me as I'm trying to punch into new grades as a boulderer and just learn, is to start on this right side. And so I found a couple videos. I pulled those up. Some people, by the way, and this is maybe a little bit too inside baseball and just doesn't matter, but some people will climb the right variation and call it V8. But after talking with some of the local crushers here, as well as Chris Hampton, it's clear to me that the V8 starts on the left, traverses to the right, and then goes to the top. So I'm starting on the V6 and pulled some helpful beta videos, and then just hopped on with Eric and started playing around with positions. And I just made a lot of progress in the course of an hour. And it was only an hour that we spent on it, between like 11 and 12 in the morning. The rock felt great. I got a good warm up using a board that I hung from a tree branch and some full body stuff, and then just started pulling onto this thing, and I freaking love it. I guess I won't go down too much of a deep dive onto like the movement, but essentially I was learning very fast. Like, okay, how do I squeeze this Gaston and then get this like kind of slopey thing on an undercling and press up into it and make a throw to another Gaston and hold the barn door. And it's very likely that a lot of this beta will change as I get into this project more and find efficiencies and refinement, and certainly when I start to try to link the V8 into it, because this is just like early days, and I'll get better heel hooks and I'll move through these sequences much faster. So I'm not worried about getting it right now. I'm just worried about not worried. I'm just like focused on trying hard and squeezing and feeling these positions. And then over time, I will build that like proprioception, the muscle memory, if you will, to start to put it together with some efficiency. And it is freaking rad. And I got like halfway. I did like half the moves from the ground to like the halfway point. And then from the halfway point to the top, I think it's only like 3 or 4 more moves of kind of squeeze moves. So you're kind of like squeezing the arête with your right hand and right heel, and then like kind of slapping your left hand up to different holds, and then ultimately to the lip, and then topping out on this kind of slab section. And it was pretty scary to me, to be honest. So in terms of like kind of a mental game thing, I'm not experienced or accustomed to taking high falls on crash pads. And I don't even like taking high falls on like big, soft, comfy pads at the gym that are, as you all know, if you're into bouldering, like crash pads are very firm and quite thin in comparison to like the very deep, like the Asana 3D pad system that I have on my kilter board. You can kind of land on your back and you're like, yay, that was fun. But if you land on your back on just like crash pads, it's pretty hard. It kind of hurts. And so I was worried about my ankles and my back and just my body in general. And so that's a fear thing that hopefully I'll be able to address by getting out there soon and hanging a top rope. And that's what some of my friends here in Louisville did. You can kind of like loop a rope. There's no bolt on the top to my knowledge, but you can loop a rope around like a tree branch. And my hope is that I can do that soon with some friends and get a belay and practice those top sections. I think I've probably done the hardest moves, the lower moves. And then the top is like, just stay compressed, stay efficient, and keep your head together when you grab that lip, because it's a little slopey and kind of slabby up top there. I just said I wasn't going to go like deep into this thing, and I just went deep into it. But I guess my plan for future sessions, and I'll have a goal for December to get out there a few times, is to continue to have fun and work hard and refine that lower beta, but definitely as soon as I can, rehearse the top. And then I feel confident maybe it's misplaced confident, but I feel confident that I will be able to put together that V6 variation of Bulldog in not many sessions. And then I have no idea about the V8, y'all. These holds are like, what? But, that's the point. The point is to try to push myself and not have the outcome be given. Talked about this recently on just like an off-the-cuff thing that I posted about Tim Emmett's 8-year siege on Eravea, his life project. And when the outcome is uncertain, when you do it, it's just like the best feeling in the world. And so the outcome is very much uncertain on the V8 Bulldog. I think on the V6 Bulldog, I should be able to do it. I don't want to should all over myself. I think I have a good possibility, a decent possibility. I don't know. No, I'm just like parsing words too much, but I think I could probably put that together pretty soon. And then we'll see about the V8. Okay. Anyway, loved that session. And then, by the way, we were done at noon on that day with Eric, and we went over and climbed at the venue, a new area that was predominantly developed by Jonathan Hurst, Eric's son, John, who's been on the show. And if you haven't heard that episode, I highly recommend it. He's a really smart and strong kid. Anyway, went over there and I flashed only my second 12A, the second 12A that I've ever flashed, and with Eric's help, because he like really was able to spray me up a bit. And then flashed an 11C, and then pretty decent effort to flash a 12B. That's so good. It's called Deus Ex Machina. Cannot wait to get back to that. I think I should be able to put that up down next go. But God, what a fun route. The venue's pretty mega. But what I loved about this day, y'all, is that I learned that I can go out there and put in a full amount of effort and make progress and learn on Bulldog, and then still have a full day of sport climbing, which I think is really important, just logistically speaking, because a lot of the people that I'm climbing with don't necessarily want to make Bulldog their project. They have sport route projects, but we can pull off the road and spend an hour getting warmed up, trying some hard moves, really winding up that recruitment, like getting a full warm up on the nervous system, and then go out and climb. And so that was pretty cool to be able to experience that. So many more days like that, just split days where I'll be at Bulldog and then likely go elsewhere. How did I feel after that, though? Holy shit, pardon my French. I was wrecked after that Bulldog session. And then I did try really hard on those other routes. So it was a combination. I can't say specifically that it was just Bulldog that worked me. But y'all, when I woke up that next day, everything hurt. There's a lot of try hard like compression, a lot of like static positions I was holding on this boulder that you'll see if you watch the video. And so I think it just like took its toll on me, on my legs, on my calves, on my shoulders, my arms, my abs. Oh my gosh. This was definitely from Bulldog, because there was just so much tension that I had to hold to stay on this thing and learn those like lower moves. My core was wrecked from this day, all in a good way. I was like, cool. But as I record this, this is my 4th day off, I think. No, it's my 3rd day off. 3rd day after the climbing day. And I'm still so sore. My bicep tendons, my biceps. So I feel like Bulldog is going to work me a bit, but it also just might be the kind of delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS, that you get from doing something novel. And so maybe the more sessions I put in on this boulder, the less I will experience as much fatigue as I'm feeling right now. But God, am I excited about it. I'm really, really happy with it. Okay, let's move on. We're 30 minutes into this thing. I need to pick my kiddo up from his after-school program in another 30 minutes. I'll try to get out of here in an hour. These are running a little bit long lately because you guys have been sending in so many really cool questions, and I like that. And I got some good feedback from you all saying like, yeah, don't worry about keeping them short. I guess if it's too much, then just turn it off or listen to it in parts. And by the way, welcome to those of you who this might be your first Plog. I'm publishing this. I think this is the first one ever that I'm just publishing out on the main feed. Typically, Plogs are reserved for Patreon supporters and Apple subscribers, including the free tier. So even if you don't support the show with money every month, which I certainly appreciate, but even if you're just like a free member, you can gain access to these Plogs. If you're new here and you're not a Patreon member, and you like this just kind of casual conversation with me about my goals and my training and learnings and all that stuff, then you can join Patreon as a free member or as a paying member, and that's cool and appreciated. That's how I pay the bills around here and make this show. But either way, however you join, you can then go back into the back catalog and dip into past plogs. So welcome to my new Struggle Crew members here. I appreciate you. Okay, let's talk about training. I spent a lot of time on the Kilter board this month still, and I'm freaking loving it. The sessions are fun, the sessions are short, and the sessions are punchy. So Kevin, my coach from Kilter, has kept me on this 6-problem day, 3 pairs of 2. And so if you listen to the last month's plog, then you understand the format, but I'll recap it. He gives me 3 pairs of 2 problems, and the grades are kind of offsetting. So, for example, so that I'm not just like talking in hypotheticals here, the most recent session I did was a V4 and a V6, a V4 and a V7, and then a V5 and a V6. So those are the 3 paired problems, and I get a total of 6 attempts per pair. So on the V4 and the V6 that I did as that first pair of problems, I flashed the V4, so I had a max of 5 attempts to put on the V6. In this case, the most recent one, the V6 was so hard. I mean, I think I logged it as like, or I wrote him a note and I was like, I think actually that's probably a V8 because it was like so stopper hard. But I put in 5 attempts on that and didn't send it, and that's it. I can't put more in. I get a max of 6, and he's doing this because he doesn't want to hit me with too much fatigue when I'm like in peak performance season. He just wants to have like a high potent dose. You could do this at the gym or on a board that you have or whatever, is basically you set these guardrails so that you don't overdo it and go into a hole and risk injury and all that. So then the next set of problems was a V5 and a V7, I want to say. And I think it took me 2 goes on the 5. So then I had a max of 4 to do on the 7, and I actually sent the 7 on my 4th go, which was cool. And so anyway, sometimes I send them, sometimes I don't. It's not really like the point, but that like artificial restriction on attempts really forces me to try freaking hard, because I'm not like, oh, I'll just give it another go. If I'm close and I have 1 more go, I am fully resting. I am chalking up. I am eating some gummy nerds. I am blasting music, and then I'm giving it everything I've got before I give it that attempt. And so anyway, that's been the format, and I'm sticking to it. And then one day I'll do at like 40 degrees, and one day I'll do at 45 or 50 degrees. So we're kind of playing with the angles, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I feel quite strong on that board right now, and I also feel like I'm learning how to move better tension, less cutting of feet, less adjusting of the fingers, these things that I was working on or have been working on since I put up the board. I think I'm creating some better habits. And when I'm warming up and doing easier problems as part of my warm-ups, I usually do like V0 through V4 progressively as my warm-up. I really focus on like that no adjustment climbing, like sticky feet, don't adjust them. When the hands hit the hold, that's it. I hit it how I hit it, don't adjust it, and keep moving. And I think that's translating into how I'm doing these harder climbs where I'm adjusting less. I still adjust, no doubt. And by the way, so do the pros. Watch anybody on any hard climb and they're like adjusting and kind of locking in their grip and all that. But less adjustments has been better for me. So that's been on the Kilter board. In terms of other training, I've really pulled back a lot of it because November has been such a performance-focused month, and I had so many days outside. I'm recording this right now on November 20th. Okay, so I'm trying to get things done before we head out on this vacation. So by the time you listen to it, it'll be, a few days later. But this is like, I'm 3 weeks into the month and I already got 6 days in outside. So most of my training has been put on pause, if you will, because I've been putting in so much time outside. And that, for me, is the goal of the season. And obviously, that ratio will change as we get into the winter, and I'm putting in more like kind of dedicated training time. But because I'm focused on boulders this year, I'll probably still be doing a lot of bouldering outdoors. In any case, I just dropped my journal. Did you hear that bang? In any case, I've pulled out like almost all of my conditioning. I had been doing a couple days a week, and then I peeled it back to 1 day a week of doing weighted pull-ups, deadlifts, Arnold presses or shoulder presses, and a variety of shoulder exercises. And I've almost completely pulled that out. I think I've only done a couple sessions in November just because I've been feeling so fatigued from the outdoor climbing. I don't want to add on to it. I think it will be good for me to start working that back in as soon as I can, though. I always feel better when I'm doing that, especially the bigger compound lifts like deadlift. So I will pull that back in soon. I did a little bit of climbing earlier this month in the cave at Rock Sport, like on a rope. That's the local gym that I go to. And I did one BFR session that I just kind of squeeze in because I can do a blood flow restriction session in about 15 minutes. But again, that was like early month, and as soon as the weather got good and I was outside, I've just peeled those out. How am I feeling? The skin is feeling really good. So I just did a recent episode with Rhino Skin Solutions in Nature Climbing, and I recorded that like a month and a half ago, or maybe 2 months ago now. And so I've been implementing their suggested skincare tips since having that conversation, and my skin is in so much better shape than it was earlier this season and at the end of the summer, like when I went to Squamish. It got so destroyed. So I've really locked in the right routine for me of conditioning it on the stone holds from Nature Climbing, and then also using like a combination of dry spray and performance cream and then repair cream when I'm climbing or after a session. And we talk more about that in that episode, so I don't need to go into it details now, but my skin feels very good. My body is carrying quite a bit of fatigue, as I noted earlier, just from trying so hard. And so I've been prioritizing rest. I've been doing some cold plunging and just trying to stretch quite a bit and recover as much as I can. And then I've cut out almost all other like ancillary workout stuff, at least for right now. On the nutrition side, no big changes. I'm still doing a ton of protein. I try to take in somewhere between 130 and 150 grams of protein per day. I do that through a combination of eggs, yogurt, some like tofu or like fake meats, lentil pastas, and then supplementing with some PhysiVantage protein drinks. And that usually gets me where I need to be. And I feel quite good about that. And then I do like daily collagen from them as well. And like do like some light finger loading, like the Abrahangs that I've talked about in the past. My fingers feel very good. And I'm telling you guys, I am like definitely putting them through the ringer. I'm working my fingers harder than I've ever worked them. I'm 46 years old. I'm no spring chicken, but I am stronger than I've ever been. And I am like really pushing them hard on this board climbing. And I think having proper nutrition, proper supplements, and then good rest in between sessions has kept me nice and healthy and strong. Tactics and technique. I have noted here that I am getting better at learning how to rest and recover on marginal holds. And so that was exemplified on Wild Gift. And then finding better beta. And that was exemplified on Bare Metal Teen. And let's see, was there anything else? Oh, on Bulldog, just like working through some of the Bulldog moves and finding better beta. I had a conversation with Ethan Pringle not too long ago, and that's going to be coming out next week. I think the next episode that comes out, or maybe the one after that. And his motto was, and the motto of the episode is, there's always better beta. And I love that. He was saying even after putting in 70 or 80 goes and sessions on really hard climbs, ultimately what unlocked the send was having an open mind and finding a key piece of beta, like just a slight different thing that he would change and be like, oh yeah, that makes that move a little bit easier. So keeping that open mind, whether you're a gym climber, a board climber, or an outdoor climber, having that mantra, there's always better beta, I think is so good. We're so quick to decide like, oh, this is my beta, but there's always better beta. So I love that. And on the mental side, we talked about my fear of being up high on Bulldog. And it's so funny, y'all. When I watch the video back, I'm like, I'm not even that high. I mean, my feet are probably like 4 feet off the ground, but it just feels high to me. And so I just need to work through that. I think I need to either get like a bunch more pads out there, or as I noted, I think first I need to get on a rope, practice the top out, understand that it's maybe not as scary, or at least just get the moves to feel more high percentage so that I can throw a move without thinking about the fall. And that's absolutely what makes the difference for me in sport climbing. And I've struggled with fear of falling for many years, as I think a lot of you know. But I worked very deliberately to get my fear of falling as a sport climber under control and manage it better. And when I'm climbing really hard routes, I am definitely not thinking about the fall or how high I am above a bolt or any of that after the point at which it kind of becomes irrational. Like there's rational stuff in the beginning of like, oh, I'm maybe in fall danger here when I'm clipping, or I want to make sure I'm not pulling out too much slack, or we stick clip the second bolt or whatever. But as soon as I'm up high and I know like the fall's going to be safe, I'm pretty good about putting that out of my mind and just focusing on making hard moves. Whereas on bouldering, that is definitely not the case. So work to do there, but I'm happy to do that work. I love working on the mental game. Okay. So that is, I think that's like a pretty full update on my perspective. And now I got a lot of questions from you guys, and I also want to talk about my December goals. So I guess I'll talk about December goals first, and then I'll flip over to Patreon questions, Q&A. So the December goals that I've written down are 4 days outside. As you know, my habit now is to set a day's goal without any sort of achievement attached to it. So those 4 days outside, maybe I send, maybe I don't, maybe whatever. It's just like, go outside, go out and climb outside, Ryan. And so if you're an indoor climber, whatever, you can set indoor days. I like to be able to set that and hopefully achieve that. So 4 days outside in December. I hope to do more, but I think 4 days is achievable. I want to do 3 sessions on Bulldog. So 3 of the 4 days that I go out, I'd like to at least be able to get in some goes on Bulldog. And then associated to that, this is the third goal rather, is to practice the Bulldog top. And so the moves at the top as well as the top out. And then I do have an achievement goal in December. I almost put as a December goal to send the V6 version of Bulldog, but I think that might be putting a little bit too much pressure on myself, and I don't want to rush this process. I will definitely say, if I don't send it in December, that will definitely be the January goal, but I didn't want to put that much pressure on myself. But I hope to send it. If I can get 3 quality sessions on Bulldog, I think I got a shot at sending it. Let's put it that way, the V6 version. But then I'll move over to the work of the V8 moves. But my performance goal for December is to send 2 12Bs. And that I just kind of pulled that out of thin air because I've worked on a few 12Bs that feel close. There's this one at Roadside called Strevel's Gets in Shape. That's one that Nate Drolet recommended to me a while back. I got on it after I sent Wild Gift. I got on it with our friends Audrey and Dave, and I had a pretty good shot at sending it, and it just like it took a little bit too much out of me. It starts really, really hard. It's very bouldery. I like it a lot. So I want to get back to that. And then there's that 12B Deus Ex Machina that I mentioned at the venue that I think can go if I can get out to the venue. That's like a big if. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get out there. Depends on where the stoke is with the rest of the crew. But there's also a 12B called Big Money Grip that I've put some time in on. So I think 1 or 2 of those could go. And then there's other 12Cs that I want to get on as well. I just don't know if that'll happen in December. So anyway, those are my goals for December. Thank you for listening to them. And then let's get to some Patreon questions. It's 44 minutes in. Oh, we're crushing it. We're crushing it, guys. Thank you all for sending in questions. And so again, if you're new here, these Plogs live on Patreon and Apple subscriptions. And so I put out a call for questions on Patreon, and every member tier gets these. So you're a free member or a paid member, you can chime in on the Plog. And I'm just going to go in no particular order here, and I might not be able to get to all the questions. But let's start with Andreas. And Andreas says, Ryan, why do you climb? What is it about climbing that makes you tick? We love you, Ryan. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Andreas. Love you too. Love you guys. Truly, like, freaking love you guys. I cannot believe I get to do this show, and I can pay some bills doing it, and I get to climb and meet all you out there. I've met so many of you this fall season, and it means the world to me that you enjoy this journey that I'm on and this podcast that I do and YouTube show and all that stuff. So thank you. And Andreas, thanks for the question. Why do you climb is a great question, a big question, an existential question. Could probably answer it for an hour. So rather than think too deeply on like the big why, let me just kind of answer off the cuff on like why I feel like climbing brings me joy right now. And I think like in this moment where I'm at, like the month of November, why do I climb? I have had so much fun and so much joy watching and experiencing like the hard work that I've been putting into my training and the dedication that I've put into finding the time to make that happen. Watching that translate to doing some hard things outside, things that feel rewarding. And I think maybe what the underlying theme is of that is that it gives me purpose. Like I feel like there's a real purpose to my recreational life. And I think about how I'm going to squeeze in my training in the morning when I wake up or the night before I go to bed. And I'm proud of what I'm able to make work, even on a busy day where the kids have a soccer game or a music recital, or I've got a ton of meetings for work because I've got like a normal job too. And so like if I've got a ton of meetings, but I still find time to get in a quick workout or session or just do some research on a route and watch some videos or whatever, that it just like, there's just a deeper meaning to my days, I think, because I'm so psyched on climbing. And then when I am able to clear a day and get outside with some friends and just experience nature and the joy of climbing and moving on rock, and then maybe doing something that's hard and feeling that training and that hard work pay off, there's just such a prideful, joyful feeling that comes from that. And I think it's rooted in purpose. And I do have purpose in my life, of course. I have higher purposes with my kids and my wife, and I help my parents out, and my work that I have, the jobs that I have, and then creating this show and this content. There's a lot of, no shortage, I guess, of responsibilities and hard work and things that feel purposeful. But on the recreational side, I think some people experience this with other sports that they do or hobbies. It could be painting or music or, I don't know, football or golf or mountain biking or whatever. For me, it's climbing, and there's a real drive and purpose and joy that comes from putting in hard work and watching it like come to fruition when I get outside. So anyway, cool question. Thanks for doing that. I'd love to hear why you all love climbing as well. You could just shoot me a message. Maybe that's a little survey that I'll send out, because I think in understanding what motivates us and drives us and rewards us with this sport could elicit some nice insights on how I can program content in 2026 by having different guests or focusing on different subject matters that really resonate with us. So thank you for that question, and I would love to hear from you all the answer to the same question. Let's move on to a question from Stephen Conti, former guest, current Patreon member, and former Weekend Warrior guest, Steve Conti. What's up, Steve? You're out there crushing it, I see. I've been following you. And Steve says, have you made any progress on Bulldog? How are you approaching the project tactically speaking? Do you have any other V8s that you're looking at? And then he adds, from my own experience, whichever boulder I've usually chosen to be my first of the grade ends up not being the first one I actually send, and some of them I still haven't done despite making multiple more grades of progress. Yeah, cool perspective. So I think I answered at least some of that in this plug up to this point. Obviously, I have made some progress on Bulldog, and I've shared a little bit about how I'm tackling that project tactically. Do I have any other V8s that I'm looking at? So not in any real amount at this point in time. Another former Weekend Warrior guest, Gentile, shared a V8 that she really likes in Red Rock out in Vegas called Orange Top Blue Sky. And that's like a kind of a sport climber's V8 as she stated it, because it's a lot of moves. It's a big traverse, but then also has a high ball. It looks awesome. I looked up videos of that. And then Nate Drolet has suggested one in Chattanooga called Tractor Trailer that has I want to say a V5 or a V6 kind of variation, and then a V8 variation. It's more of a low ball roof problem, and also could be considered a good sport climbers or route climbers boulder. So those are on the list, those other two. And I do plan to get out to Red Rock this winter, and I plan to get to Chattanooga this winter. That said, it would be so foolish of me to think that I could put down a V8 in like a day or two. I guess it could happen because I feel very good. And sometimes like the stars just align, and it's not like a sport route that you need to really necessarily kind of spend 30 sessions on like I did with the Force. It could just come together if the stars align, but I don't expect it to. And so it would be wise for me to pick the hardest boulder project of my life to be something close that I can have multiple sessions on. So Bulldog is fortunately very inspiring. Now, to your point, Steve, I maybe there are other V8s out there that I could send faster. It's just a matter of like access. And so then there is Foxtown Boulders that's within a day trip here. And then like longer day trip would be maybe Lily Boulders that I've had some friends recommend some things at. Foxtown I want to get out to sooner than later and hop on some other potential projects out there. But I am psyched at Bulldog, and I'm encouraged by the progress that I've made. So I guess we'll leave it at that for now. And then next plug, I'll have more perspective because my goal is to put in 3 more sessions on the boulder in the next few weeks here. So stay tuned. And I'll post a lot of this on Instagram as well, and I'm documenting some of it for YouTube. It's a cool process for me. I'm just learning so much. This is kind of new territory for me to be in. It's a kind of uncomfortable waters, to be honest, but like there's a good like healthy discomfort for me trying to push into this boulder mindset and body set, if you will. So yeah, stay tuned. More on that journey to come. Matt Samet, another past guest, has written in a question. Oh my God, I love getting questions from past guests. So cool. So Matt Samet is such a crusher. That first day I was on Wild Gift, Matt came out there and warmed up on it and like crawled up it using the worst beta and the worst holds possible. He is a very strong climber. Just recently climbed 514, and I want to say he's in his like mid 50s, late 50s, Matt. Sorry if I'm outing you. Anyway, great episode with Matt if you can go back to the back catalog and read that one. And Matt says, have you set anything on the kilter board yet? Could one waypoint on the road to V8 be setting one that fits you, or asking another setter of the kilter folks to tailor a problem to your goals? I'm asking only because I set on the boards from time to time, often because I'm not finding what I want that day in the existing problems, usually crimps. I always love crimps. Yeah, that's a cool question and also like a cool thought about having others maybe try to set things for me. So I have set a few things on the kilter board. And so for anybody who has the kilter full ride or home wall, as it's also called, you can check I've got a board account. It's called @struggle_board, I think. And I log all the problems in there in blue if I'm repeating them, and then in green font on the cover art if it's an FA. And I've set a handful of FAs from, I want to say V4 to V6. And I love the setting process. It's so cool. I am learning about like, what do I respond to and how do I like to move? And I don't know. It's just like, yeah, there's something to setting that's been quite rewarding for me. It does take more time than just like turning on the lights and climbing somebody else's problem. And so I don't always have the time, but I really do enjoy it. And so I've set on there. And one of the things I set was a replica for Maisie May. So Maisie May is that like V6-ish rope boulder that I did that I gave a 12D. I did like last month, and very, very proud send, very hard one for me to do. And so I set a simulation, if you will. It wasn't a replica, but I said, I kind of tried to simulate it as much as I could on my kilter board at home. And I think I got pretty close. And I posted a video on Instagram that shows a side-by-side of me climbing the kilter board problem that I call Maisie May Not, compared to the real problem, which is Maisie May. And I think it was very helpful. And I think I can do that for Bulldog in at least some of the moves. Like the slabby top out, I can't set on my kilter board. But I think I can do a handful of the low moves because Bulldog, as you've seen a picture of it, is a kind of a flat plane that I work on. And certainly when I get into the V8 Traverse, I should be able to approximate those quite a bit. So I'm actually very much looking forward to setting some replica-esque moves on the kilter for Bulldog. I just needed to session on it first before I could figure that out. So I have had a session on it. I'll go get another session on it. I think I'll retain that muscle memory and have some videos that I can reference. And then I'll create some replicas and I'll publish them and we can all work on them together. And then if you work out on that board, if you who are listening out there have access to a board, a kilter full ride, I'm going to be adding the auxiliary hold soon. So that'll give me even more options to get specific with how I approximate different moves. And I'd love to try some of your stuff. If you want to set some things for me, that'd be awesome. I do need to work on figuring out how to do compression. And I actually think because I've got like a pretty wide right side support, I actually think I might be able to set some problems where like you can kind of squeeze the quote unquote arete of the board itself, which could be fun. So yeah, I'll play around with that. Matt, thank you for the tips and also the question. Moving on to Alexander asks, are you planning to keep aerobic system development in your climbing workouts while you're working towards your bouldering goals? And if so, how do you plan on programming these and which workouts? Great question, Alexander. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I'm a route climber, like deep down in my heart. I'm working on being a boulderer and trying to stay focused on that, but I love climbing routes. And so I haven't done a lot of aerobic system development in my climbing workouts because I've been doing a lot of it outside. I was doing aerobic workouts leading up to this season. So you could reference past Plog episodes, like check out like August and September to hear what I was working on. I was doing BFR, I was doing some overcoming isometric repeaters, and I was doing some stuff on the tread wall, like 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. I've stripped all that out now because I'm getting outside so much. And even on the days where I'm going to be on Bulldog, I'm going to go climb routes afterwards. And so my aerobic system feels pretty wound up right now. I feel damn good. Like I'm recovering on rests, even marginal rests on route. And I feel like just putting in the days outside, I'd have to go back and count, but I think it's been, I've probably done 15 days outside over the last like 2.5 months. I'm getting a lot of aerobic stimulus from that. Now, if I'm extrapolating your question forward, so let's say we're getting into the winter and maybe the red is shut down for the most part because it's just too cold, but I can still get on Bulldog or I can still get down to Chattanooga. Will I work on the aerobic system then? I don't think it's going to be a priority. Like this winter, the main focus is going to be on climbing the V8. And so I think I'll be doing quite a bit on my kilter board. I think I'll be doing as much as I can outside. I'll do some conditioning, some weightlifting. And then maybe 1 day a week, I think is probably what I'll do on the aerobic side, just to keep that system like kind of going. I think that, as coaches, a lot of coaches will say 1 day a week will maintain. So I'll probably do like a route climbing day at the gym, or maybe just like some overcoming isometric repeaters. It's like a 15-minute workout that kind of approximates like a 2-hour route climbing workout. I'm putting together some videos on this. Putting together a series of videos, in fact, called Endurance Hacks for Busy Climbers. So if you want some endurance hacks for busy climbers, stay tuned. I'm going to be releasing some of those videos. Great question, Alexander. Appreciate that. What do we see? I got time for one more question, and I'm going to go pick up my kiddo. But I'll carry the rest of these questions forward to the next Plog. And I can also answer questions if you just like send them to me on the Patreon app. You can DM me. There's a group chat where we just kind of update the things that we're working on. And then there's also, you can just like submit questions for Plogs here. So last question that I'll get to today is from Ivan. Hey, Ivan, how are you? And Ivan says, I'm not sure if you're into philosophy, but hey, let's try. Oh, this is a great start. We're already off to a great start, Ivan. He says, happiness can be divided into 2 main categories: eudaimonia, which relates to having meaningful or purposeful life, and hedonia, on the other hand, comes from the joy that we experience during an activity. Looking back at the last month of climbing, what type of happiness stood out the most? Love this question. Love philosophy. Love the kind of concept of hedonic and eudaimonic happiness. I was very deep into like Buddhist philosophy for quite some time and took a lot of courses, studied Buddhism more through the lens of like mindfulness meditation, and that kind of more closely followed like Buddhist philosophy and like insight meditation. But there's obviously these concepts can apply across many different types of philosophies or just mindsets in general. And so hedonic happiness, hedonism, so just like gaining pleasure from kind of the easier stuff, like, I don't know, having great food or great drink or partying or sex or buying something or just like, kind of like climbing something super fun, as opposed to like eudaimonic happiness, which is that more deeper kind of a happiness that comes from that purposeful life. And so how interesting, Ivan, that I've almost answered this question from an earlier question where I talked about my happiness and my joy coming this month more from feeling that deep sense of purpose of my training and this community and the hard work that I've been putting into my life as a climber paying off on rock. So I would guess that the scales tip more towards the eudaimonic happiness in this month, but it goes up and down and it swings back and forth. And no doubt I had some hedonic happiness. In fact, I mentioned earlier the bros weekend where we got together and rented a cabin. I mean, there was so much hedonic happiness in that I can't talk about because I'm in the rare event that my wife actually listens to this Plog. I would not want to upset her, but we had a fair share of hedonism on that bros climb trip, which I think is good for us animals to have every once in a while. Good for the mind, body, and soul to just kind of let loose. And so plenty of hedonism there. And then also just kind of the hedonic happiness, if you will, from going out and just having a joyful day on rock without expectations and without having to fulfill the purpose cup And that happened quite a bit on some of those days with the friends when my skin was trashed and I just like was wrecked from 3 days on. There was a day where it was pissing rain. It was pounding rain. And we were just hanging out and cheering each other on, climbing in a cave. And the holds were getting manky. And we weren't climbing to send. We were just climbing to have fun. And like the lightning was coming down. And yeah, it just felt like very primal. And it was really cool. I mean, it's fun. And then, you go have a burger and drink a beer. And what fun. What fun we can have as climbers. For me, at least, it can't always just be about performance as much as I talk about it on this show. I get a lot of joy from the performance focus, but if it's always about that, it can kind of feel heavy and a little bit stressful at times. And so very much enjoy really fun days out at the crag, really fun days in the basement with friends on the kilter board where I'm not trying to send hard things or even following like a training program, but just like screwing around and jumping and falling and having fun. I enjoy that as well. And I think that's a great way to wrap this up because we are getting into American Thanksgiving right now, where there is going to be plenty of hedonism. The average American consumes 4,500 calories on Thanksgiving. And by the way, that does not seem like high enough of a number. I feel like 8,000 or 10,000. It feels like a Michael Phelps level of calories need to be consumed on Thanksgiving. I sure as heck am going to consume probably 3,000 calories just in pumpkin pie and Cool Whip. I love that stuff so much. And if you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you get after it and have a lot of hedonic fun. And for those of you who don't, then you still have my permission to go out there and eat your body weight in pumpkin pie if you can find one. And as a parting thought, because it is Thanksgiving, we're going to be reflecting on what we're thankful for. I am so incredibly thankful for you who are listening to this right now, who listened to this rambling plog, but also tune in to the struggle either every week or from time to time, checking out the stuff on Instagram and on YouTube. And if you support me as a Patreon member and actually give me some of your hard-earned money every month so that I can keep paying the bills here and keep making this show, just thank you so much. I'm like overcome with gratitude and emotion. I am so lucky that I get to do this. I love doing this. I can't wait to do more of it into 2026 and well beyond, and to have you along for the ride. It just means the world to me. So thank you so much. Be safe out there, and I will see you next week.